Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to everyone that's here with us. For those of you online, we are grateful you're with us, and we welcome you to a fresh 2023. It's a fresh start to a new day, a new week, a new year, and we're grateful that you're with us. We're beginning a new series. We're going to be entitling this Invitations from Jesus. And today we're going to look at one specific invitation that he has. I don't know if you like to get invitations, but maybe around this time of year, there was invitations given. Maybe it's for birthdays or celebrations, and you get that RSVP in the mail that you have to respond to. But invitations are great, and Jesus was full of invitations. Invitations are a lot more pleasant because they give us the choice as opposed to you must do this or you must do that. Invitations kind of, hey, we would like to invite you. And Jesus was full of these invitations. We're beginning this new year with this new series, and we want to just take a fresh new start. Did you see that little guy? He's coming up. I don't know if you've made some goals to eat better. Anyone fallen off the wagon these past few weeks with your eating habits? Maybe you have decided, you know what, I'm going to start fresh and I'm going to get a gym membership. The gyms are packed right now, especially with the holidays. If you go to Service Place, there's kids everywhere. It's great. And then maybe you've made a decision that you want to get more sleep. So you've decided that you're going to go to 7.5 hours of sleep. 8 hours is good, but hey, if I can at least get 7.5. And for some of you, that's like, are you kidding me? I haven't been able to sleep that length of time in so long. Maybe you're young parents, or maybe you're older, and it's just your bladder doesn't allow you to sleep that long, all in one setting. Maybe you want to spend more time doing things that you love, more time with family, or more goals that you have. But how are you going to take those things and add them to your already to-do list that you have? How do you add these things to your to-do list that's already full? And I don't know if you ever thought of your to-do list as never ending, but you keep compounding on top of that. I was reminded of this. This is me as a kid. We had a Volkswagen Beetle. Did anyone have a Volkswagen Beetle growing up? You did? Okay. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I come from a family of 6. And my parents, so that's 8 of us, that was our vehicle. So just think about this. This was before seatbelts. I am that old. And we crammed into this thing, this little Volkswagen Beetle, plus we had friends. And our friends would cram into this thing as well. And so my dad was really smart. He realized there's no place to put the luggage because we have the kids. And so, of course, they had these car top carriers. And I'm sure you remember this. But my dad made a wooden one that went above our Volkswagen Beetle back then. This is the same kind of year, around 1965. But maybe you came from a time where you were, how many people can we cram into a Beetle? Do you remember? You remember those days? How many people can we cram? That's your to-do lists for some of you, is how are you going to cram everything onto your to-do list, especially with your new goals and things you want to change for this year? Well, you're not alone if that's what your to-do list look like, but Jesus gives us an invitation. And I want to invite you into something that he invited us into. And I want to take a close look at it, but you're going to be familiar with it. It's going to be like, okay, of course, I know that invitation that he invites us into, but how on earth are we going to get it? But I want us to look at something in the Old Testament today that I believe if we changed our habits and the way we look at work and rest, I think maybe, just maybe, we'll start to discover some of the rest that Jesus is inviting us into. This is what he says in Matthew 11, 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. Now, when he says, take my yoke, you might remember a yoke is something that they would put on the oxen so that the ox would actually work together and go in one direction. This was his yoke, but it meant his teaching. And he says, and you will find rest for your souls. And then he says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. His teachings are easy and his burden is light. This is the invitation that he's given to us. And so I want to invite you into a fresh start, or to actually change that to say, let's start fresh. And let me explain how this is going to happen. I want to go back to the start, to the very beginning. It's amazing how many answers to the questions of life that we have are found in Genesis 1 to 11. And here's one of them that I've never seen before, or really never pondered before. But I want to bring this point across and see maybe we can change something to add a little bit more rest to our lives. And it goes like this. It's back in Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Nothing new here. We remember first verse in the Bible. It continues, and it says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And get this, and there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Does that make sense? There was evening, and there was morning, the first day. If I was writing the Bible, I would have said there was morning and there was evening the first day. But that's not how God describes it. Just keep this in mind. This is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Always says, and there was evening and there was morning that day. Now, a little later on in Genesis 1:27, he goes on and he's going to create us. He says, so God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God saw all that he had made, and now it's changed. Every other day was good. Now it's very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. It says it again. Now, in Genesis, when we begin to see Genesis as a book of poetry where there's actually these rhythms and there's these repetitions that are important. I used to read it when I was young, like as a lab report, and trying to find scientific questions to sometimes what the Bible wasn't really answering those questions. It was pointing us to something different because repetition shows importance. It's a way of writing to get us to ask, why is he writing it like this? What is it that he wants us to see, and why is it getting repeated? What is it that I should be paying attention to? That's one question. Let me give you an example. You all have cell phones, a lot of you. If you get a cell phone and you see missed call, and there's one missed call, and there's a message, you may listen to that message and find out, okay, or you may even wait a little bit before you get to that message and say, I'll check it later. But let me tell you what repetition does. If you get a phone call that says 5 missed calls, all within a certain period of time from the same number, what changes? Something changes where you're like, okay, somebody is trying to get a hold of me, and this is of major importance. This Genesis, the book of Genesis, was written in a certain way for us to pay attention to the things that get repeated. And God created, and he saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning. And it seems backwards to us in our culture. Because typically, what we do is we start our day with work, and then we end with rest. But God is saying, start your day with rest and end in work. And so in the evening is when you would start your day with rest. What if we just changed that in our culture just for a little bit? Or you made a decision to say, you know what? It's evening. I'm going to start with rest today. Because can we get ourselves to understand that when our work is done, we rest? That's what we do today. When we have done enough, we rest. That's our rhythm of life, and that's how we work and we rest, is that work comes first. But in the Jewish culture, that's not how it was. The day started with rest. It started eating together as a family, It started talking together. It started with sleep. And then you work. And the mindset feels totally foreign to us. It just doesn't make sense in our culture. But why does this matter? And I want to point this out. Genesis chapter 1 was written at a time not from the very beginning of the world. It was written after the Israelites had been in slavery for 400 years. After 400 years. Now, creation stories have been passed down, but nothing really written down from God. And now Moses has a chance to write these words from God. And this is how God explains creation. Why was God trying to tell his people that our day starts in the evening and ends in the morning with work? Well, the Israelites were the first people to hear, and they had just been in slavery for over 400 years. And you know what they were taught? They were taught that they make bricks for a living. That's all they do, is make bricks. 7 days a week, from sun up till sundown, they make bricks. Their value was based upon how big their stack of bricks was. If they could make more bricks than somebody else, they had great value. If they could not make bricks, they had no value. The only question the Egyptians would ever have cared about was how many bricks did you make? I just want to highlight some things. It's in Exodus chapter 5. I'm just going to highlight a few things here. It's a conversation between Moses and Pharaoh. And you'll remember these words. It's in Exodus chapter 5, and it says, "Let my people go so that they may hold a festival to me in the desert." This is God speaking through Moses. And Pharaoh says, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Then they said, "The God of the Hebrews has met with us. Now let us take a 3-day journey into the desert to offer sacrifices to the Lord, our God." And then he says something really strange here. He says, "Or he may strike us with plagues or with the sword." Now, I don't know if Moses added that, but Pharaoh would sure relate to a God like that. Pharaoh would relate to a God who would strike someone down with plagues or with a sword. But the king of Egypt said, "Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people away from their labor? Get back to your work." Then Pharaoh said, "Look, the people of the land are now numerous, and you are stopping them from working." That same day, Pharaoh gave this order to the slave drivers and foremen in charge of the people. Do you remember what he said? He says, "You are no longer to supply the people with straw for making bricks. Let them go and gather their own straw, but require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Don't reduce the quota. They are lazy. That is why they are crying out, 'Let us go and sacrifice to our God.' Make the work harder for them so that they keep working and pay no attention to the lies." A little later on, it says, "The slave drivers kept pressing them, saying, 'Complete the work required of you each day, just as when you had straw.' The Israelite foremen appointed by Pharaoh's slave drivers were beaten and were asked, 'Why didn't you meet your quota of bricks today or yesterday as before?'" Make bricks. Aren't you glad we weren't slaves in Egypt? But what is God saying? I believe God is saying he's not a God like that. And your day doesn't start with work. Your day starts with rest. And here's why. Because to rest is to trust that what God has done is enough. To rest is to trust that what God has done is enough. In the thousands of years since then, with all our progression and advancement in technology and social progression, you would think that we would no longer assign value to others by how many bricks they make. And yet we check our emails how many times a day, maybe how many times an hour, or we see posts and how many likes did we get? Yet Jesus is inviting us into a life where we don't have to be burdened or weary of what we did or did not accomplish on our to-do list. This is what he's inviting us into. But how often do we introduce ourselves to someone with this question? Oh, your name's Susan. Hi, Susan. I'm Bruce. Nice to meet you. So what do you do for a living? Where do you work? What do you do there? How many bricks can you make? What do you want to be when you grow up? How many goals have you accomplished this year? What were your test scores like? How'd your year-end reviews go? Well, I just want to be like Elon Musk, because that guy, he can make a lot of bricks. But here's the problem. It's a soul-crushing way to live. We become our own pharaohs. Do you feel this way? Do you feel this tension? Because value in our culture is based upon what we cross off our to-do list. Did we get that promotion we were looking for? Many of us watch Home and Garden TV, and we see all the renos, and we just like, oh, can't wait to start on that reno. We need something like that. Or how many of you have Pinterest with recipes, a whole board dedicated to recipes? And have you ever got to them all? What about that side hustle you're looking for? It's not good enough in our culture to just have one hustle we're working on. We need a side hustle as well. And the magazines that we fill ourselves with, or the social media of the Photoshop pictures. And we all aim for whatever those pictures are that have been touched up to look perfect. But we try so hard to earn what was already given so freely to us. Now, I'm going to move towards the cross here, because I think this is really important. Jesus is on the cross at this point. And Jesus says something really unique here. It's in John 19, 28 through 30. It says, Jesus knew that his mission was now finished. And to fulfill scripture, he said, I am thirsty. A jar of sour wine was sitting there, so they soaked a sponge in it, put it on a hyssop branch, and held it to his lips. When Jesus had tasted it, he said, it is finished. Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. It is finished. In a translation of the Greek, the word is tetelestai. It means to end. It means to bring to completion, to bring to a conclusion, to complete or to accomplish, to fulfill or to finish. And in a secular sense, tetelestai was used in business world to signify the full payment of a debt. And when a debt had been fully paid off, they would have a piece of parchment paper and a stamp that says tetelestai on it. And it meant that the debt had been completely paid in full. And this means that once a person makes Jesus the Lord of their life, the King of their life, and puts Christ on in the waters of baptism and is raised to new life, that tetelestai is stamped on us, that the debt has been paid in full and there's no sin that no longer exists. The debt is wiped out because Jesus paid the price for sin that no sinner could ever pay. Yes, we will still wrestle with sin, but that debt of our sins has been wiped away, and our sins have been cast as far as the east is from the west. So when Jesus utters these words, it is finished, it was his declaration that the debt was fully satisfied, fulfilled, and complete. And that is God's to-done list. See, God has a to-done list. God's to-done list is so important, and it is so much more important than your to-do list. What if you lived your to-do list throughout the day through the lens of God's to-done list? Would it make a difference in our lives? So what has God done? Well, he created you. We learned that from the very beginning. And then he rested from his work. He saved you through Jesus Christ. He healed you. He adopted you. He comforted you. He called you. He gifted you. He goes before you. He is with you. Because God's to-done list means we can lay down our to-do lists and rest in his completed work. This means we can rest and then work. See, we were created for work, but we're called to work alongside God. So what is God doing? in your life that he's inviting you into, that he's asking you to join him and work alongside him. You see, we're not working for approval, but we're working from the approval of God. And it's to start fresh. So what is rest? Well, I believe that rest is anything that focuses on the goodness of God. It's sleep, because it's important. It's a worship song, sung during the week, at the top of your lungs, in the car. A good meal with people you love. Taking time to just read and feed on God, not because you have to check it off your list, just because you want to spend time with God. It's a belly laugh with a friend. It's a walk outside. It's sex with a spouse. It's prayer. It's vacation with people you care for. How do we include rest every day in our rhythms of life? How do we include rest in our everyday rhythms of life? Well, one way is, what if we changed when we start our day? Let's start our day in the evening. Well, let's start our day in the evening and work together to move towards work, but doing it from a restful place. So in the evening, we could have dinner together with your family, talking about things of substance, reading the Bible, guided prayer, taking the dog for a walk, and taking pictures of what God has done all around you. A few minutes before getting out of bed, sit there and just thank God for all he has done. Thank God for his to-done list. There's weekly rhythms that we get into. On the seventh day, God rested. That was the Sabbath. We enter into the Sabbath rest because of what Jesus did when he says it is finished. We love to meet together as a body of believers. We do this on Sunday. We do this in our homes because we love koinonia, which is fellowship together. And then we have seasonal rhythms. New Year's Eve. I don't know if anyone made it past 12 o'clock. I didn't. First year, didn't make it. I made it till 11:30. I was in bed. That's new for me. I'm getting old. But I'm seeing, hey, God's inviting me into rest. But I want to invite you into something that's a little different. We celebrate anniversaries. We celebrate birthdays. These are yearly events. But I want to do something this year, and I want to invite you into it. You don't have to. That's the beauty of an invitation. You don't have to do this. But when I got here this morning, Daryl and I sat at the back, and I was just like, Daryl, I can't believe how beautiful the trees are right now. They're incredible. And I got stopped at a train, and I was just taking pictures of these trees. It's fascinating. I've never seen trees like this. It's because of the fog at night, they freeze. It's beautiful. But I've got pictures. Daryl sat down. He says, let me get my phone. And he showed me the same kind of pictures. And then I went downstairs, and we were waiting for people to come in and looking, and I saw Simon and Jessica taking pictures outside. Why? Because God is showing us how incredible he is. Now, this is what I want to invite you into. A gratitude jar, or a gratitude folder on your phone, or a gratitude journal. You choose. You can do anything you want. It's an invitation. But what if we put things in our gratitude jar or journals or on our cell phones and had a folder with pictures? And then at the end of the year, on New Year's Eve, we got together, maybe with a few of you, maybe with a whole bunch of us, and we looked at our gratitude jars, journals, or folders. And we just shared with each other what God has done. What would change? What would change? What if we started to become really aware of what God is doing around us? God was screaming at me this week. Screaming at me, and he actually had to send a train to stop me and says, just take a look, will you? It's beautiful. And I have done this because I'm in control. And I want you to rest in what I have done and learn to say, it's enough. It's enough. And just see where God is at work. I invite you into that this year. Start a gratitude journal or gratitude jar. Do it as a family. Because God says there's a better way. And it's not just a fresh start. You're invited to start fresh for 2023.